Hey. It is 4:55 in the morning.
Ridiculously early or late, depending on how you
We
look
haven't been
at it.
asleep yet, so
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been a lot. Like,
It
the
has.
today's starting with the dreams, man. Like,
It started before we even spoke to each
Yeah.
other, and that's the crazy
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I should have had you pull up the message that I sent you from this afternoon
Wait,
slash
you
like
want
my
me to
morning.
pull it
Yeah,
up? I
definitely.
can.
So
Dude.
okay. So long story short, even before I text her, we were already on a vibe. Apparently,
Mhm.
we both woke up at like 9 a.m.
Mhm.
and we were both like meant to wake up when we wake up. And I kind of, we both had that on and off sleep.
Mhm. With the
And
weird dreams.
yes, and then I ended up texting you at the time that I got up, and you were just like, wait, that's the time I actually got up too.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because we're like, what, 45 minutes away from each other
Yeah.
about?
Yeah,
And we're
so
like,
at like 2 minutes before 1, you're just like, I am bone and so tired, and I don't know why. My body didn't want to get up, and it's like, no, I'm in that boat too.
yes,
Same.
yes.
Yeah, and then you were talking about like having tried to get up since like 8, 9 in the morning,
Yes, I had an alarm and
and
everything.
and
Funnily
then
enough, I was trying to get up so early because I was gonna go to like a church thing. Yeah,
ah
because I had my alarm set and everything, and I was just like, I don't have it.
yeah. But then, so I was like, been feeling kind of like that for a while now. Today feels harder. Woke up around 9, feeling quite tired, then struggling to fall back asleep, then a bunch of nightmares and being suddenly thrust back into the awake world. And then you're just like, oh, me too. That the nightmare bed is kind of funny because we both had them.
How I didn't even know how, that's ironic. I didn't know how true that statement was until we talked a little bit
Yeah,
more.
and then you're just
But
like, felt too tired to care and yet struggled for sleep for some more bit. Like, and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, I feel like it speaks volumes. The last thing I remember from the nightmares, is this psycho stalker woman waiting for me in my car with some strange, creepy man that decided to drive my car into a park lake with me in it. Man left the car. I managed to get out. Woman was still inside. I managed to drag the car out on my own as it was filling up with water, saving the woman's life, even though she had been harassing me for a while. Because she
mm-hmm.
was so weird.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know what's so funny? Because it takes me for, I was telling her earlier how like you're like really skilled at typing fast and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm on the definite slow train. And so I didn't get a chance to read any of that until I was done sending what she's about to read off, what I sent to her. And mind you, I don't remember the last time we talked about dreams.
It's been a hot minute.
It's been a minute, and it's one of those things where I could, because the funny part is, the dream that I sent you wasn't like my bad dream. It was just the one that I remembered so clearly. I'm like, it's too vivid, and I'm just gonna do it. I don't even care. Like, I'm tired, and I hate texting. I said it. I let you know, like, I cannot stand it. But I was like, I have to get this out because it's way too deep. You know.
Yeah. So you said there was a witch that was trying to abandon a town before she got caught. She looked like, what's her name?
Effie.
Effie?
Yeah.
Okay. Effie from the Hunger Games. I left 2 pies at her house. There was a teenager, but yeah, but and? Are you saying and?
And a young adolescent,
Okay.
yeah.
So there was a teenager and a young adolescent girl with a father. She had nothing but chaos in the house, but she had the word peace everywhere. I thought it was strange. It was on posters and mirrors and walls. So her niece popped up to tell her that she was leaving and she should get her things.
That the lady was leaving,
Yeah.
and that I should be leaving to get my things.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and so you wanted to get your things because it's gonna be different when you got back. And then you said, well, I thought I could make 2 trips, or I generally forgot the pies that I made. When I went back to get them, everything changed because the lady had left out with some old guy and an old you put old and like all caps after the first one.
Because it was like the original Model T, like that Henry Ford made, like the first one.
Yeah, and then you said the house was normal, like clean, and I'm guessing peace wasn't on the walls. Is that what that's supposed to be? Because it's
Okay.
like clean. And I was like, I don't know what Gibbs is.
Me either.
But I'm just guessing peace
Probably
wasn't on the
peace.
wall
Yeah.
anymore. But
Yeah.
so, or misshapen about
Mishappen,
sorry.
Mishappen about.
But the people were sad that lived in it. When I was in there talking with the broken-hearted boy, he was all macho, not displaying his true feelings. That's when a flicker of reality opened itself to me. I was able to get a glimpse of her in the market with a wand, taking people's bad emotions away and
commencing them in a pile. Maybe he's supposed to be collecting them.
That would be more sense because I was like, commencing is starting. I was like,
I can tell I was just waking up. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, but collecting in a pile, like a pile of dummies that she zapped out of the person. It was sunny that day in contrast to the rain she left behind in the current reality. It was weird. People were lined up to see her. It baffled me because I was like, she's not fixing your problems. She's collecting your soul essence. The soul is meant to go through things to grow, not stunt your soul growth by taking away the feeling.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I went ahead, because I think that was in response to her. I sent her a picture of like this, like I literally Googled butcher guy with a hat, and he popped up. I was like, he's perfect. He almost looks a little bit ghoulish, like kind of hollowed out, top hat, very kind of, I would say maybe like the late 1800s, maybe going into the 1900s, and then Effie in her like original, in her very over the top kind of a thing. But yeah, I sent her that picture. I'm like, oh, do you mean like these two? And then
you were asking if that was the lady from the dream, and I was talking about, well, I know the woman was blonde. She had these intense blue eyes, and like as we were talking about, it's like these ice cold blue eyes. Like it was like kind of soul piercing, like in your face, like you could not, like it was just a lot. And then I was telling her I thought that she wore more modern clothes and that she had been working in a school somehow. I think she was supposed to be like a teacher, and she was after a child, insisting that she and the child both loved each other, and then got incredibly jealous when anybody was around this child. And she was convinced that other people were in her way and in their way of true love. And so that like they were preventing the love from being in existence. So like she had to get rid of them, and like it was just really intense. And then I was talking about the man, and the man was a lot more quiet. Like he didn't say or do much. He didn't. And like I didn't remember much about him other than he seemed like an accomplice to the woman, and like he was just kind of there. She seemed to be more the one like doing things and like out and about and like instigating
what my
things.
brain can't let go of. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, when what's his face, Johnny Depp played him, and he had like that hollow look. It's just coming to my brain right now, that hollow look, and he's more of a, I'm gonna let you fall into your own thing, not really playing on anybody's side but his own. And that very dark, because he had that dark purple on, and the dream he had on dark purple, and she also had on purple. In your
dream, because I don't remember much about their clothing other than it was more modern, because like yours seemed like, from what you're telling me, like the 1900s kind of clothing. Mine was like more modern day,
like late 1800s. Because I don't know what made us go into Hocus Pocus.
I don't know.
I literally have
but I just am reading your next stuff, and you're just like, holy shit. It's the same people. He was quiet and spooky. She had some kind of power over the small town locals that made sense to me. She was beloved by children. It
didn't make any sense.
And then you're like, the broken-hearted teen was in love with her. I'm effing screaming.
Because I wasn't okay.
Yeah, and I was like, she definitely put on a front with the kids. They seemed to be enjoying her classes at school. Something always seemed off about her to me, though. Then I noticed these weird glitches, if I guess is the best way to put it, in her personality. She seemed to give these hateful looks to the sister, because at one point I've been going to pick up someone to take them to an activity, and like it was mending with what I had to do today, and like I noticed this brother and sister walking home from school along the long driveway in like a foresty area, and like she was like wanting to go after these ones, especially the sister. She was so jealous of the sister and like wanted her out of the picture.
I just want to say that goes on with the Hocus Pocus thing, because they had already taken the soul of the teenage boy. And she's never watched this, so I'm kind of explaining this. But in the movie Hocus Pocus, they already took the soul of that boy, and that girl was basically releasing her brother's soul. And so in the movie, they did not like the sister whatsoever, because she's coming in all pure, like, I'm gonna save my brother, like, I want to know like the crimes that you did against him, that kind of a thing. And so I feel like that was like an ongoing theme throughout both of our dreams. So I want to just like throw that out there.
But like she just kept giving the sister these hateful looks, and then I ended up walking the siblings home because it felt unwise and unsafe to leave them on their own. Like something bad was going to happen to them. And I was like, I'm the only one here that's like even noticing stuff. Like she's out here and like she gonna get you guys. And then
she gave off predator vibes.
Yeah, and then you were all like, you even know that if they were siblings? What the fuck?
That was crazy to me. I was like, how did you even know if they were siblings? I'm just like, that was crazy to me. I'm like, how do you, like, it was too much. I don't think you understand. Like, I was just waking up and I was just like, how are we dream sharing this deeply? And it's like so the same yet so separate.
Yeah, because like nobody else seemed to think anything of the woman in the dream. Like everyone else seemed to like view her as someone respectable and amazing. Like, oh my gosh, you're just like the bomb kind of thing.
Well, that's what I was gonna get into a little bit when I was talking about. I don't know if I wrote that to you in the text or whatever, but when I was viewing her, like I said, it was literally a pile of dummies that she was pulling out of people. It was physically visible with the naked eye.
That makes you think about this whole Sinbad thing and like how she pulled out that dummy and
what's that movie called again?
Sinbad and the Seven Seas or something?
In the Seven Seas, yeah.
Like
and he's looking for the Book of Peace.
And Eris. Her. Yeah, Eris, the goddess of chaos, discord, all those good things.
Right, and it's one of those things where, remember, she had the word peace everywhere in the house,
even though she was causing chaos and discord,
like
and
literally it was so chaotic that like when I was telling her how I was trying to go back to get my pies, the table wasn't even in the middle of like a room like it should be, or the kitchen or dining room. It was on top of the couch, and it was upside down on the couch, and it's one of those things where that's where I placed my pies. And so I was just like, it's just kind of, and this is how I know it was older. My pies were in wicker baskets. And I was like, well, that's very telling. And not only that, when I went out into the town square, there was the little girl that we're talking about. She had like that brighter hair and stuff like that. And she had on a white turtleneck and these really cute pink overalls, like adorable. And it was just so weird because, like, you know, the lady, she had on all white. She had on she had like white skirt, white shirt, and she
was pretty pale.
She was pale.
That's what I remember.
No. Ethereal. She was so further than alabaster. Like when I mean like white, I mean like almost blinding. That's how we kind of started talking about like the Illuminati and how they're so bright that I'm like, there's nothing, because they're supposed to be the enlightened ones, you know what I mean? So they are enlightened, but they're more, I feel like they're more fourth dimensional, as in they'll use that light to blind you to get whatever it is that they want out of you. And so it was just kind of crazy. The people kind of seemed, I think the word is hypnotized, because they were like clapping for joy and like, you know, kind of doing hoorays, but it seemed empty, kind of.
Yeah, you were saying
puppet-like.
You were saying that the people in the town had fallen to idolatry. The parents were sitting back and letting their kids get cured by the woman.
Yes.
And the dummies weren't just like in a spiritual sense. You can see it being yanked from the children with the wand. They were happy and they were even clapping with joy.
Yes.
And yeah.
And it reminded me of, and it was crazy because when we looked up Hocus Pocus, I was telling her, like, I was telling you in person, I was like, she had this wand and there was this electricity that
Mm-hmm.
came from the wand.
Mm-hmm.
And then we looked at Hocus Pocus, they had electricity coming out of their
Mm-hmm.
fingers and onto like the Hocus Pocus, like, you know, theme or whatever. And so I just thought it was absolutely insane that we had so many similarities. I mean, she showed, so in real life, not only in her dream was she taking this teenage boy
Mm-hmm.
to extracurricular activities,
Mm-hmm.
the
house?
The house.
Yeah.
I think I've been to the house once.
I think only once.
Only
maybe
one time.
Twice, but
mind you, I'm not.
You just went to come say hi to their dogs. That's
right.
all it was.
So it wasn't. It's one of those things where I'm not remembering this house or anything like that. But I can. And we were describing the house to each other, and I was like, "Is that the same fucking house?" And like we're because
they more recently moved there because they used to have a different house in another part of the town.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because they used to be over by their elementary school.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. That's crazy. And the thing is, I was like, that's almost it. We're both kind of like piecing together what it is that we were seeing, and she's kind of like showing me, oh, look, this one house is kind of over there.
It's kind of like a fusion of the two.
Yeah.
And then that book.
Yes. So... okay, so the crazy part is in our dream, we're describing the same driveway, the same drive-through, and the same shape of the house, the same size of the house. And when she showed me a picture of their home, I was like, that's it. It's not complete because the other house is like a little bit fatter, and it was a lot more woodsy. And I was just like, but it's a lot more.
If that was back in the day,
and this is the thing. I said this was about 100 years ago, and that was like the theme of everything. And I was like, oh, but the driveway has to be like this. And she was like, wait, the driveway is like that. And I was like, you're fucking kidding. Excuse me. But it's one of those things where it's like, you gotta be kidding me.
No.
And so it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, no, that's the same place if you put it like that, especially if, because they had a garage. In my dream, they didn't have a garage. So I'm like, they could have.
Like, that's more modern. Like, that's current day, not 100 years ago.
Right. So they could have easily, like, taken a portion off of the house, right? Close it off and then made that garage to have that more modern, you know, whatever. And it's crazy because they had a tree in a circle, and I was like, I feel like there was a fountain in the middle of the walkway, like it was a circular structure that was there because they were like my bags were, I was putting them off to the side to like the left of it, and to the right I was going after this woman, and I was just like, hey, like, you're like leading all this chaos everywhere. And the guy, the ghoul guy, like the Charlie the Fact, like that guy, he comes up and he doesn't say anything, but he somehow moves me, but he didn't touch me. It was like he like guided me away from her without ever touching me. And she runs to the passenger side, gets in the car, and then he gets into the car. And I was just like,
if you think about it, he technically did that in my dream too because he was driving the car.
Yeah, so she went from driving her car to all of a sudden she was in the back seat, right?
So that was after I walked them home because I was like, I don't trust this woman with them at all. And so then I was gonna, I don't know if I was getting ready to drive the teenage boy that I know to his activity or what. But so I was in the car. She's in the back seat. I'm like, how the heck did you get in here? And then all of a sudden, he's in there too. And he like takes over the car and he's driving. He drives us into a lake. He gets out of the car. Like, me and the woman are stuck in the car and the water's like filling into the car. So I managed to get out. And I was like, well, I could let her drown, but me being the person that I am was like, I don't really want to have that on my conscience and be like, I let you die. So somehow I managed to pull this hunking car out on my own using just my hands out of the water and like tip it on the side to pour out all the water so she's not drowning and put it down. And like, but before that point, I told him I was going to call the cops because I was like, you guys can't be doing this. Like, no. Like, why are you here? You can't just break into people's cars and be doing all this. No. And, like, they didn't think I was serious, so I did call the cops. But then, like, I ended up, like, driving into, like, not, I guess it's more of, like, the town, but, like, and I'm on the phone with the cops. I'm like, yeah, they're doing all this crazy stuff. I don't know what's going on. And then, like, I get up to, like, the store. And, like, there's just all these kids in school uniforms, and like they seem devoid of like all joy and happiness and life, and like they're just kind of shells of themselves, and there's like kind of zombies going through the motions. They're just everywhere, and I'm like, why are all these children in uniforms? Like, they're not normally in uniforms. Like, there are some schools with school uniforms and all that, but like it was all of them. They're just everywhere, and they're like in the parking lot, and I'm like, what is going on?
And so my response to that was I was kind of right with the Effie Trinket, because in the Hunger Games, they're basically in uniform. They all have on the freaking white turtlenecks, and they all have on like those, like some kind of an overall or whatever the case may be. And I was just like, wait, if they're all in uniform, that goes way too perfectly with what it was that I was seeing. And they're like devoid of emotion because she's literally taking their soul essence. And so it's one of those things where, like, the structure of a human basically is like, it kind of makes sense how they like just came out like as dummies and stuff like that. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where I was just like, okay, so the running theme is also that
the dad. Because that was also an element with, like, uniform and cop. And, like,
like, across everything. Yeah. So, long story short, in looking for the architecture for the home, we came across a book called, because it was in the Seven Seas book. The Seven Seas movie. Sinbad and the Seven Seas.
Yeah, because
the Book of Peace.
We started talking about Eris because she was going on about all the chaos. I'm like, that makes me think about the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and like the goddess Eris, because like blonde and like all this chaos.
And she was also wearing white. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, and it's like I remembered the Golden Apple, and I was like, oh yeah. And then so we started looking up Eris, and then it showed up with Sinbad, and like she was after the Book of Peace, which was posted all over the house in her dream.
Yes.
And so it was just like.
And so even through all of that,
but then you were Googling the Book of Peace. You're like, what is this?
Literally, because I was way too curious. I was like, what is this? I'm like, that's too much of a coincidence for me. And so I look it up.
After another, though.
Yeah. And the first book that came up on my feed was a book by Elizabeth Groud. Is that her name?
Maybe. I couldn't tell you. I don't. It started with a G and it had an OULDE. Maybe.
Book of Peace, yeah.
No, I'm not looking for the song.
And her name was Elizabeth, which for us, that's a running theme. It's been that one. Gouge. Okay.
I don't know.
So GOUDGE.
Yeah.
When was that published, by the way?
Wasn't it? Well, no, she was born in 1900. I was going to say.
Yeah. And she in that one book. So we're going to get to the next book too.
There were multiple.
Because it really caught our attention. But in the Book of Peace, Elizabeth, that's a character that's come up for us multiple times throughout
our dreams.
Years, specifically our dreams. And one day I was meditating out here, and I was just like, why does Elizabeth keep on coming into my meditation? Like, I'm super confused about that. And I was just like, okay, well, gotta use some kind of discernment. Can't just like, whatever. And so you had a dream about
Wasn't it with Lizbeth, aka Elizabeth from Black Butler?
Oh, I don't. You know where my brain went to? 7 Deadly Sins.
Her too, but like that, I don't think was the one.
I think it was the way that the pronunciation, we decided on that, because at first we were thinking 7 Deadly Sins, which that number 7, there we go. But we ended up staying with Lizbeth because of the way of the pronunciation of that. And even in that, she was still some kind of a forest person, right?
Yeah, in the dream she was, but also for the record, she had blonde hair, and Lizbeth from Black Butler, and it was like curly. And just another thing.
That's so funny. You know what's so crazy? The butler with the dark hair, he was a demon and didn't really say much. His main line was mostly, "I'm a hell of a butler."
One hell of a butler.
Right, and so it's one of those things where this quiet, dark figure with this undead child boy. Wow. That's a little, oh my gosh. And she swears that she was in love with him, because even in my dream, I said that the boy was brokenhearted because he was in love with this woman. And I was just like, I don't see what you see in her. That doesn't even make any sense. And I'm just like,
in my dream, I don't know if the boy loved her or not. I didn't get a read on that.
He was emotional. I'm going to say this. Okay, how about this? I'm going to say he was heartbroken. And I'm going to say that he was emotionally distraught.
Yeah.
I will say that much. I don't know about how she felt. I just knew I didn't like her, and she needed to get the F word away. That's mostly what I knew about her. And she kind of was like, when I kept on saying the truth, I was like, because I was talking to the dad in that dream, and I was just like, you know, she's saying peace, but look at your house. Like, it was like chairs on the wall. It was like everything was like upside down and topsy-turvy.
Wasn't Elizabeth kind of obsessed with him too?
Yes.
Like, not in, like, an actual love way, like, just obsession and, like...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and she also brought a bit of chaos with her as well.
Yeah, I don't think she intended to, but she definitely did.
But I will say this is also what kind of made me think about the 7 deadly sins, because of your dream in the forest. If you remember how the king of the fairies... King of the Fairies, yeah. What did I say? Okay.
Well,
yeah. Oh, his name was King. Yes. I forgot, actually.
King. Yes.
His sister.
Elaine.
Right? Yes.
Elaine.
And
she was blonde.
She was. And then you had Bond. And we were talking about being bound to trees and things like that, of that nature. And it took for the goddess Elizabeth to come and help them with everything that was going on, because in the 7 Deadly Sins, it was Meliodas, this blonde-haired, green-eyed kid. Man, even whatever.
I mean, everyone writes him off as a child, but he's like,
not,
what is it, like thousands and thousands of years old? So it's like,
yeah. I think is he 2,000? I think he's like 2,000 years old. Something crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of symbolic, that too, the 2,000 years was Jesus and everything. But anyways, and just like being blasphemous. But anyways, his point being, Liz or Elizabeth, she is a goddess, and they're all about, you know, being one with the earth and all the other stuff. And so that's kind of why I kind of stuck with that Elizabeth from that time. And also it was the 7 deadly sins. I think that was very appointed. I think that was really good. But I know that you said that in your dream from a few years ago.
It was her from Black Butler. Like, I just distinctly
I know. But I just want to say, we were looking for her. Yeah. I just want to say that, like, very plainly. Yeah. We were looking for her. And if you
I don't remember why, but I know we definitely were. Like,
we were trying to save the children.
I just don't know why specifically her to save the children.
Yeah, we couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
why her? How
like, why is she the one who's gonna help us help the children?
And the crazy part is, we had to enter into her domain.
Didn't we have to like break through a barrier? Yeah,
we had to break through a barrier. And so I just thought that was very interesting, and also very telling of kind of like things being seen and unseen.
Because weren't they like being treated like slaves or something on the other side of the barrier? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, I think you were really freaked out by it. You were just like, something isn't quite
like, this isn't right.
Right. And I think that we were just trying to help like the kids that were in there? No, we were going to see her for a different reason. And I think we stumbled upon this like Hansel and Gretel moment where it's like this witch has these kids and she's lying. And she's trying to say, oh, I'm doing it for this reason. And it's just like, you're not doing it for that reason. That's the thing. All of the things that popped up for the references for us had the ideology of enslaved children. So in Black Butler, what was going on with the love interest of Lisbeth was that boy was Ciel. He was controlled, basically. Well, I can't say control. He was manipulated. His innocence was, I think,
because I think his
like corrupted or something. That was the other one. That was a little blonde one. CL's was a little bit different. His whole family was
his
slaughtered.
whole family got murdered, and like he got abducted and ceremonies and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So he was used for ceremonial things, basically.
Yes.
Dark magic.
Yes.
And he was so low at the pit of his soul that he ended up selling his soul to a demon. And this demon is the one who became his butler because Ciel
wants his revenge.
Right. Yeah. And not only that, I mean, that too, but he's also very crafty. He was able to make a very crafty deal of never having to basically die. He becomes immortal.
Well, that was
spoiler.
That wasn't him though.
Hmm?
That wasn't him though.
It became him.
Like that
in the second season, he becomes him.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that wasn't his deal.
His deal, okay, so if we're really going to give out a spoiler, because I wasn't going to do it, I was going to let you find out, but she's like, no, let's get it correct.
Like, be real, though. Like,
It is real. It is very real. But you're not wrong, because his deal was basically just to get revenge on the person that slaughtered his family.
So it's like
that was his original
Sebastian
deal.
Was supposed to be the butler until he got his revenge, and then he could have his, quote unquote reward.
Yes, which is his soul to be able to eat. So, in the first season, he had an opportunity to do that. CL didn't take it. And that's when you go through the whirlwind.
It wasn't that Ciel didn't take it. It was that he got kidnapped.
He had an opportunity to actually to get the people who did his family. He had an opportunity. He didn't take it. And that's like the very first episode of the second season. He's like, why didn't you do it? And he's kind of obsessing over it and stuff like that. And he's totally changed the subject. And he's like, you're not about to tie me down. And he's just like, he doesn't want to admit that he wants to live. He does not want to admit the fact that he actually doesn't want his soul to be devoured. You know what I mean? Because he had a little taste of life. He had a little taste of adventure and a little bit of self-worth. Because remember, he was in the pits. They were using that boy terribly.
Yeah.
And to make it even longer, this very long a little timeline, a short one, he ends up meeting another boy who was also in the pits. He was into prostitution as well as ceremonial things. And he CL, even though he was as broken as he was a little bit more whole than that other boy. And that other boy was so in a fit of jealousy and rage.
Alois
and
Trancy?
He really wanted, yeah.
I think it's something.
He truly wanted the care because he felt like
no one loved him.
Yeah.
He was unlovable.
Yes. And the woman, the demoness that he had ended up. Hi.
But I also, one thing I wanted to point out is like, think about the time period that also takes place.
That's so creepy. Can we Google what was the actual? Because like the clothing, the horses, the carriage, that's entirely creepy. So I didn't even think of that either.
Like as we're talking about this, I wanted
the house that we're talking about is from 100 years ago. That's the thing. That's why I was telling her. I was like, yeah, that could have been a house, but if it was 100 years ago, it's like definitely the late 1800s, early 1900s. Which is, of course, this is all before
Victorian era of London during the reign of Queen Victoria.
So that's the first Queen Victoria, right? So what was the first Queen Victoria's reign? That would have been a little minute ago. And so 1837 to 1901. So all of that being said, that's actually kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. I didn't even think of that.
Well, just as we were talking, I kept wanting to say something. I'm like, I don't want to cut you off. And since the cat was all like, say hi, I was like, interjection.
Perfect timing. Yeah. So that's hilarious.
Oh, and also that woman, the Elizabeth woman from England, born in 1900.
Right, back at the ranch. If you look up, there's another book. What was the name of that book that had the house on it? Because it wasn't the
Pilgrim's Inn? Is that it?
Pilgrim something. Yeah. I think it was Pilgrim's Inn. And so now this is like a safe transition to say, like, not only did that house, so the excuse me, tongue tied, a little too excited. The author Elizabeth Gouge, she made a series of books,
fiction
and children's books, to be exactly. In 1947, she won a award for The White Horse, and mind you, we were talking about
The White Horse? Oh yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, it was.
And it's just crazy because I was telling her about the Olympics game. And how I was catching her up because she hasn't been too deep into like the crazies, which
I haven't been in.
It's not bad, but long story short, I thought that was just so interesting. And until the times we were talking about books in the Bible, we were also talking about the Olympics. And if you watch the Olympics, you will see that there was a bow. There was a bow. I want to show that actually.
Pilgrims Inn.
Or rainbows, excuse me. So a house that was very similar to that.
Man in uniform.
And I was about to point that out. Yeah, the guy in uniform and stuff like that. This is a running theme because in real life, the person that you babysit for is a man.
A tutor.
Right. Or
pet sit.
Yeah, all that.
And house sit when they're out of town, which I will be doing next weekend. But
all of the above.
Yeah.
Right? So he is a man in uniform. And so in my dream, the dad was a man in uniform. And I knew, and one of the things that, because I saw his hat, it was hanging up on one of the coat racks. Yeah, it was on like a coat rack. And he had like this very predominant large mustache.
I've never seen it in real life, Mr. with it, but
yeah,
I don't know what he had in his past, so I can't comment.
He also doesn't have a daughter, so maybe that wasn't a daughter. Anyways.
I don't
know.
So
it's one of those things where so that was a running theme through all of that as well, because wasn't even Ciel's dad part of the army? Also, their whole family branch.
I don't think he was part of the army. He was the
dogs
watchdog of the queen. Yeah,
watchdog of the queen. Like, what, you are uniformed help at the end of the day. Like, you're on a leash. You are some, like, that's what you can call the army today. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it may not be the Queen's watchdog, but it's America's. So, there's that. And then there's also the, I actually don't remember in Hocus Pocus much about the parents. I'm not going to skew too much into that. Were they
absentee? Like, were they kind of neglectful and, like, out of it?
I
haven't seen it, but I feel like
The Hunger Games is like that.
I feel like I heard someone say
went through. Right? I don't remember about Hocus Pocus. I don't know, but I do know.
That's another trend that we were talking about.
The absentee parents and the parents who are just kind of because the mom. So what happened in the Hunger Games? The dad, he was part of. I think he was also in the service. Now that I think about it, but he was part of the coal miners. And no, I don't think they have armies, or is this? So he was a coal miner, definitely, and he taught, like, Katniss how to hunt and do things like that. She famously went back to her house to get his hunting jacket because it was just such a familiar thing to her for him. So he was in a city and town where that's not common. You know what I mean? That's how she was able to survive the Hunger Games. Like I said, she was in the most poorest district out of all of them. It's not like she's coming from the gold or the diamond district. She's coming from coal. So that, like, the dirt of the dirt. And the mom, after he died, she completely checked out mentally. And Katniss was the caretaker of her little sister. And all these kids, they got in their Sunday's best. They're kind of in uniform. And they are going to get picked to fight to the death in entertainment of the elites, right? So Katniss, she historically volunteered out of District 12, excuse me. And that's where Effie comes in. So Effie is just like very fake. Oh my God. Just like Eris in freaking thing where she was just so fake. Oh, you mean my Lord.
Like, oh my God.
And
kind of like tubular.
That's so cool that you were able to get Grimm. And it's just one of those things where it's like, ew. So it's ew. And it's just this running theme of absentee parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're there in body, but not so much in soul. Or sometimes just like,
or emotionally or mentally or any of those.
Just
like physically.
Some kind of a capacity. Because the mom wasn't, in my dream, the mom wasn't around the serviceman and the man and the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if in Hocus Pocus they had any kind of grip on their kids. And CL's, his were completely murdered off.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's parents, her mom was killed off, and her dad, actually, wait, was that even her real parents?
No, because she was adopted. They found her as a baby because every time she dies, she gets reincarnated as a baby right away. Yes. And Meliodas dropped her off and be like, hey, here you go.
Yes. Oh my God, it's just so epic. I can't. It's so fun. But yeah, that's screwed.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm having another level of realization. But yes, she came up with everything, this Elizabeth Gouge, she came up with everything that we were kind of talking about tonight, where it came from, whether it be the Book of Peace, whether it be the White Horse, which is in turn is one of those things where it made us talk about the Rainbow of Peace, the idolatry, because they had a golden bull at the Olympics. That's absolutely insane. And swear they're not, and then they had the audacity to swear it wasn't the Last Supper, which I'm just like, it's so blasphemous and just so insidious. It's one of those things where it's like, I literally, and then the so-called apology, it was, every bit of it was disgusting. And so that, and mind you, I called out in my dream, like, they're doing idolatry. This woman, she's like, kind of reminds me of Illuminati, where she's so bright that you can't even see the truth, and like she's literally tricking you, being super inauthentic. And even that one guy, he wasn't even, he wasn't for anybody but his dang self. And he was like, as soon as it didn't work out, he was like, well, I don't have to be a part of this. Ship. Something just like that.
Or jump car, so to speak.
And then it's just kind of crazy how our dreams linked up in that way, because like, I saw a different part of it, and you saw a different part of it, and all of it is equaling out to...
And then all the other connections that happened since then.
Go on. I don't know.
Well, like, literally, like, just all these things we're talking about with media, and, like, then what we're, like, looking up, like, immediately, when you looked up Book of Peace, it was Elizabeth, and then that's in Asana Trail, and, like, then also, like, there was, like, that one creepy cover on one of her books, and then, like, there's just talking about, like, what was it? The Children of the Sea?
Yes.
Child of the Sea?
Yes.
And then, like, talking about...
That also kind of pulled into the Sinbad and the Seven Seas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, like, the Book of Faith, which then, like, kind of tied into, like, the whole... DreamWorks other movie of Prince of Egypt, and like that song about like being miracles when you believe, and like keeping faith and like hope even though it's frail, which then tied back into you reading the Bible and talk about the blasphemy and like after Moses let them out. And it's just like everything just kept circling back and connecting, and it's like one thing after another.
Yeah. And even when she was talking about, or even when I looked up like the book of, I accidentally looked up the Book of Faith by her as well, because apparently she made that. I'm like, why is that on fire? Like, after all the depictions that you have to choose, it's just like, why fire? And so after, and not only that, that other book that you're talking about, I think it's called, not The Way Home, but like, I am forgetting, but the depiction, the tree was very creepy. Symbolic. And there was a woman that was against the tree who was standing in witness. Mm-hmm. There was a man going through a dark tunnel. There was, I don't know what that was. It was just kind of like a maybe an older witch. And there was another witch that was dancing over a cauldron and all that weird freaky smoke.
And then there was like the
lady
face
in red.
There was the face in the smoke.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then the lady in red, which if you follow anything in the Matrix, you're supposed to follow the lady in red because, like, you know, it's the Matrix kind of glitching out a little bit. And then it was extra funny because she had, speaking of the Bible, I'm trying to remember how Ephraim tied into all the horse. The horse is also so there's another anime called
Heaven's Design Team.
And Saturn, also known as Ephraim, this is ancient name. He was obsessed
with horses making a unicorn and like all these things.
He made the seahorse, made everything that's like in relation. I think he accidentally made a giraffe, like he's trying to like proportion out.
Didn't he try to do a Pegasus too, and even that wasn't working out? And like,
yeah. So it was just so funny how all of that kind of connected together, you know. And it's one of those things where even like that one meme where I was dying laughing, it's one of those things where it also ties into the Seven Seas thing where we're like, wait, is she sending out sirens right now? And it's just like, oh, there's the Little Mermaid, and the white horse couldn't even be white; it had to be black. It was so chaotic and so perfect. I don't care; it's too perfect. No, we gotta think about it. But I laughed. Oh my! I needed that laugh.
You were asking because we recently had the super full moon in Aries, and like
that's what
Eris, if Eris was related to Aries, and so we looked it up. Their siblings. Eris is Aries' sister.
Yes,
and like
if he's the god of war, and she's the
goddess of chaos and discord, and like calamity and like all these things, like they go hand in hand.
It really does. So a lot of people they were talking about, like if you watch any of the full moon forecast, they talk about how there's going to be all these epic endings and things like that. And here we are. That's like the last super full moon of the year.
Well, it's also I think they said that concluded eclipse season too.
Yes. So it was a lot of. There was a lot of mishap with all of that. But there was also a lot of connectivity and like we explored the concept of multiple dimensions working at once. Yeah. Like fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensions, whether it's through someone like Trump, whether it's through someone or something like Archangel Michael, and just
parasites and bacteria and viruses and
a lot of things are kind of, and it's one of those things where I think it's just so funny because his name is Ciel, and Ciel kind of if you take the accent away, it's a seal.
Isn't Ciel also another name for sky? I could be wrong.
I have no clue. But it sounds like seal to me.
I can see that.
So things are being unveiled and unsealed for all of us to, because, you know, they've been going crazy with the UFO stuff and the aliens that we were talking about.
Sky or heaven. Nice. Yeah. Because I was like,
he's talking about corrupting heaven. Oh my God, because he's a child. Oh my God. So the point of, so what prompted us to make this video was watching one of our favorite YouTubers, Michelle Patterson
on Angel Souls.
And and I think
much love, Michelle.
So much. The thing is, like, this is our first time in years. We kept on saying for years we need to make a video.
To be fair, I think we were doing recordings either earlier this year or late last year. I think we had started to. But then
I think it was like not something that like I don't think it was something that hit home. I think it was just more fun and cutesy. Like fun.
We got into some deep conversations in that car ride. Yeah.
Wait, we need to explore that. I'm looking back on that. That's a different subject. We're going to talk about that off the camera because I need to know things.
I don't remember all the specifics.
Yeah, but I will say that her talking about children, I was like, this has to, there's no, because we haven't seen each other for most of the year, and like we were both kind of like,
we've been in the thick of it, man. Even our other friend, like it's just been nonstop onslaught of thing after thing after thing, and it's like it just like weighs you down. You're like, how can I stay above water?
And then it's funny because 2 months we're in that, so that's really funny. That's like how many months we are separated, and birth and like all of our like similarities and like the non-similarities. And then I think that was just kind of funny that we both we had the same sleep schedule. We were both in like the same dream world.
Our other friend was talking about the similar things too, but she didn't comment on dreams. So for all we know, she was having.
I don't think I even said anything to her about dreams. When she was just like feeling like a deflated balloon, I was like, I feel that so deep, girl. If only you knew. And I'm pretty sure she's like, having her moment.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those things where it's just we were able to get together and
it was hard though. It was hard. We almost didn't do it because we didn't have the energy. It was like everything is just so much.
And then I got like so full so quickly, so easily earlier. I was like, how is this even possible? I didn't want to move. And I was just like, at some point I was like, hey, can you meet me halfway? And she was just like, yeah, I can do that. And I was like, cool. And so
part of me wanted to say no because I'm like, I don't know if I have the energy for that, but I'm like, I want to see you, dang it. It feels too important.
Yes, it felt too, but that's what I'm saying. Like, even like you didn't say it earlier, but like your numbers, like numerology wise, it kind of wraps around 911 and stuff like that.
Well,
and so
like it was 9-1. So my numbers are 9, 11, and then 1 and 11. And, like, that connects back to another dream that I had where I was with her and our other friend, and, like, all this crazy stuff was going down, and, like, this
basically
guy,
oh, snap!
Like,
oh, snap.
He was not, like, human at all. Like, he was, like, superhuman running, and, like, he unleashed all these, like, dark things.
Kind of reminds me of Aries, like, the male version.
Could be, but
just
like,
because remember how she like had to manifest herself and how she's like she's mostly like just all smook. I'm like, so are her little minions until she gives them the
but it was like kind of smoky, ghoulishy, black entity things. I don't know what they were, but they were trying to get people, and like there's just like darkness all around, which makes me think about the blackout.
Oh yeah, because here's the thing, they were trying to they have the audacity to blaspheme the Christian God, to blaspheme the Jesus Christ. And then what happened? All of Paris blacked out. And then after it blacked out, there was only one little church on a hill with a light on. And I'm just like, you cannot tell me that that's not just God being like, never forget who I am, ever.
In that dream, though, from way back when, we were on the street with the churches.
Huh?
In the dream, with that...
Yeah.
We were on that street with the churches that I was talking to you about today. And, like, I went to, like, the main road, and I was looking, it was, like, darkness either way, but that street was, like, the one in light. And, like, this woman was like, someone call... What was it? 111. Someone called 911. Yeah. And then, like, I was the one who was, like, saving people. I have full chills
right now.
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why we were just like, we have to come together. I was just like, I don't know what it is, but something is save the children. And that's like, kind of what it's all about.
And Michelle was like, you guys need to speak your truth. That's what it was.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm just like, I don't have any gist with it. Like, even right now, I have terrible allergies. I took a couple of different medications, and I'm like, it's late. I'm like, I don't want excuses anymore. I just want to do it. So we've been going for almost an hour right now. Completely worth it. Yeah. So I feel like this had to get done.
Well, the children are the innocent. They're pure, and like you need to protect them. But like so much is happening to them, and like no one seems to either notice or care or what. And I'm just like, I went in to my education to be an educator because I care about the children. I want to help them. I want to make a difference. And it's just like, I've been in so many different schools, and I just see them breaking down and crying and feeling like they're not good enough, and that because someone else is better or because they can't do it like this, that they're no good, and they just want to strive for perfection, and they're just breaking down into tears. I'm like, how is this okay? How is this helping our children? How is this educating them and giving them a brighter future when they just feel like they're trash? And it's just like, they keep having all the stuff that matters most to them cut. Like, they're getting shorter and shorter lunches. They're getting shorter and shorter recesses. They're getting shorter and shorter or just non-existent, like, extracurriculars like art and music and all these things that help them come alive, and they're just sat at their desks and they have to go through all the motions and like spew out all the facts and memorize. I'm like, that's not learning. That's not helping them.
And then even like with what they're doing with all like the things I learned about things like, oh, let's say CoComelon, where they're completely shooting, like, just, there's been basically, they sit there and
it's like the
producers of CoComelon, they have children selected and they sit there in a boardroom, watch these kids, and as soon as the child takes their eye off the screen for even just a moment, on background noise, like, shaving the skin, a bird, or some leaves ruffling, or whatever the case may be, the moment that they take their eyes off of the CoComelon, they document that so they can make it as addicting as possible. And you think that it's super innocent because it's nothing but like, nursery rhymes.
It just seems mind-numbing and just bad.
Yeah, and even like they're teaching the kids to be bad and stuff like that. It's like, if you actually pay attention to what it is that the children are doing, you're just like, wait, these are actually really naughty kids. And then not only that, they're also not only teaching them to be combative and not listen, it also is a speech delay. And what are they trying to do so badly? They try to muzzle us with masks at first. And then after muzzling with the mask, they were just like, well, let's go ahead and mess with the First Amendment. Let's go ahead and mess with the
They're like guilt and shamed for you just even having a question.
Yeah. So if you said anything even after the pandemic, if you say anything about anything, you're like wrong. And then we're gaslit. Theorists. And then we were gaslit through hell and back talking about the conspiracy theorists, they were right, but we're not actually going to give any kind of credit. And then when I say something like, well, science is like one of the new gods, is one of those things where it's just like, yeah, but if you're not told to take in your own God-given insight, your own God-given
like
perception, and all of that is one of those things.
Intuition, just like, instinct, like
saying,
all of it.
They're saying, no, forget that. Don't believe what you're seeing. Don't believe what you're feeling. Believe the science. And it's one of those things where it's just like, it just made no sense.
Science gets bought off.
Yes.
And it's just like, who's funding all the experiments and the research and like...
I forgot the name. Pfizer. Pfizer has been in business since sometime in the 1800s.
Wow.
They've never come up with a cure for anything. But they rack in the billions. I think they're trillionaires. I don't want to misquote, but I'm almost certain that they're trillionaires. And they have... It's one of those things where I'm not going to go too deep into other truths that are like very Googleable. You can look these things up. You can research them yourselves. But because of that dream, we are like, no, we both shared it. And it's on like a super pivotal day. It's on the 19th. And it's one of those things where that 9 and that 1 has always been very symbolic. And then understanding that we're in the year of the 8.
Well, also, if you take it with the 10, there's the 911.
Booyah. Booyah.
Just
it felt like, or 119, however you want to kind of flip it. But it's one of those things where it's just like, it's too relevant to not say anything. It feels like an emergency. It feels like something that has to be, spoken on.
Well, it's just like...
Because I feel like it's not... I feel like so many people are like kind of wrapped up in the wrong things.
Well, it's also like... the whole closed mouths don't get fed. Like, if people don't even know this is happening, like, how is anything going to get better? How are, like, we going to find solutions or even try anything? It's just, like, people just keep, keeping their heads down, going through the daily grind. Like, oh, I'm going to go to work, and then I'm going to go and, like, relax with my Netflix or whatever. And it's, like, nothing wrong with wanting to relax and, like, feel good. But it's, like, nothing's changing for the better. It just keeps getting worse.
I just want to say, as millennials, like, this is our world. We are the fucking, we are the force. So it's one of those things where it's just like, and there's just one generation like below us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's or two generations, and it's one of those things where we have to really put our best foot forward and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we don't fail. The same way that we talk so badly about the baby boomers, we don't want to be them. We don't want to. No hate against the boomers, by the way. It's just a matter of the legacy that's being left behind is one of those things where it's just like we
It's also
we want there to be a fighting chance.
Well, also when you know better, do better.
Yes.
Like, we are not in the same position as the baby boomers. We're not.
Yes.
We have more awareness with like emotions and whatnot. So it's
Yes.
like we gotta do better.
Yes.
We know better, so let's do better. Like, we can't just keep going along to go along, going through the daily grind. It's like, that's not gonna help us. That's gonna keep.
It hasn't helped us ever since they said that there's essential workers, and like, oh yeah, only some people can work, but if you don't do these things, you won't have employment, and you won't be able to feed yourself or your family.
Well, like, my sister was talking about how they were telling her that she wouldn't have to go to work because she's autoimmune compromised, but she would get 3/4 of the pay, and so she wouldn't be able to survive off that. So she's like, well, you're telling me that I have to work.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. And it's one of those things where it's like, it was, and that was unconstitutional. And I think that people forget, yeah, sure, a democracy is like, we're a republic. When you understand the weight that actually holds in the world, you'll be a little bit more civic heavy and a lot more law conscious, because the amount of rights that we have and don't in fact enact on, like, everyone should be enraged. Everyone should be enraged.
There's so much wrong.
Yes.
So much wrong. There's so much hurt out in the world, and people just seem to keep going on. It's like, well, I was hurt, so I'm going to hurt back. And it's like, that's not going to fix things. Like, yeah, speak up. Don't let yourself get bowled over and, like, manipulated and mistreated. But, like, throwing more hurt out in the world is not going to fix things.
And my whole thing is, not doing anything doesn't do anything either.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we've been not doing anything for a little too long.
Isn't there that one quote or saying about, like, it's not, like, the bad people, it's, like, good people doing nothing?
Yes.
I forget exactly how it goes, but it's, like...
silence is violence. But, like... if you're not okay, if you're not speaking up on it, if you... Here's the thing, right? If you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of, we're falling for everything. There are people identifying as cats and trees out here in the world. It is one of those things where we can't have, like, just normal safeties. And it's one of those things where, no, definitely deserve to feel safe going out. Shouldn't have to feel like...
So the actual quote is, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing.
Yes.
And so... part of it's probably just conditioning, but it's like, we can't keep doing nothing. Like, look at the state of the world. Can you say that you're proud of it? Can you say this is the world that you want?
Yeah, we were part of the generation of, you can do anything. And
it's like, put your mind to it and you can do it. And it's like,
yes.
I have been trying so hard just to be able to make ends meet and, like, get out on my own. And, like, I have worked 3+ jobs. I have worked 12 to 19-hour days plus weekends with, like, pet sitting and house sitting and babysitting and all these extra things on top of it, and I still haven't been able to do it. So it's just like, I am trying. I have been working all these different jobs to try to make it work, but it's like, we're mounted with all the student loan debt, we're mounted with all these increases in prices just to survive. It's like increases in, like, rent and housing. Like, is this the world that we want? Is this the world we want the children to inherit?
And then not only that, the BS that, like, you know, is going on with even politics. Like, oh, we're going to go ahead and do this, but, like, at what cost? How are you getting these things done?
Yeah.
And what is it going to cost us in the future? So a lot of what's happening right now is, I'm going to say this really quickly. Get your civic law just down. And not only that, here's the thing. The main reason why I even turned this on is the kids. Y'all are worried about or have your mind fixated the future of AI. Don't get excited about kids. Don't get excited about the computers, because the computers raising the children has been one of the biggest downfalls, unfortunately, for humanity. And it's one of those things where we have a say in that. And it's one of those things where if enough of us, a couple of million of us, we're just like, yeah, no, I'm not working more than this many hours. We're not going to stand for not having vacation and just time to have my family. We're not standing with, I was going to get to that. Or not having, come on now. Come on. We're supposed to be the leaders of the free world and our healthcare system is like this. Are you serious?
Is this freedom?
We should be investing so much more in education and so much more in being healthy. We are one of the most unhealthiest countries in the world. We're the sickest country in the world.
Even though we're one of the richest countries, the health is terrible.
And it's one of those things where
mental health, physical health. I was going to get into
it because they're trying to say just to understand that the rest of the world cause dementia and Alzheimer's, type 3 diabetes. We are what we eat, and we're eating crap. We're eating like absolute just garbage, like things that aren't even considered food. We're filling ourselves with, and it's a lot of, getting these foods and it's not fulfilling and still feeling empty. And then that leads to empty emotions and all these empty calories. And listen, I can go on and on and on. But I just want to, yes, but I think I really just want to hit home on protect the kids at all costs. If you're a mom, if you're a dad, if you're an aunt, if you're an uncle, if you're in the healthcare industry, if you're in the education history, we are the last, we are that barrier in between nefarious forces. It's never just about the flesh. It's about power and it's about principalities. We are the last line of defense for them, and we need to speak up for them.
We need to stop failing them.
Every way. Yes. At the end of the day, if you see something wrong, say something. If something isn't being done, and you know that you're able to do something, do it. You don't need permission. And it's not even about being Captain Save a Kid. It's just more of make sure that you feed your soul. And that's soul work. When you see something if you see an injustice, let there be justice. Let you be the reason why there's justice in the world. Please be the reason why there's mercy. Be the reason why there's love and joy and be the grace. Be that. Please be that. If you take nothing else from this, be that. Be what you want to see in the world. Don't say what people usually do. Bullshit. I'm calling it out. I smell it. Ew. No.
It's be the light you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
If you want
be the good that you want to see in the world.
It's if you want kindness, if you want respect, common decency, honesty, if you want this in the world, put it out there. And inspire other people.
And not only that, here's the thing. There's something so enriching because I hear it all the time. Oh, I have to fill my cup, which that's not wrong whatsoever. You can't do for someone else that you're not willing to do for yourself. But if you ever find yourself in a position where you're able to do something for yourself, you're at that crossroad and you have that moment of emotional and or mental clarity to choose how you want to be treated. The golden rule, which I will always stand by, treat others how you want or wished you were treated. Because at the end of the day, we were always in that position. So if you know that, if you're able to, you see someone that's hungry, if you're able to give them money for a meal, give them a meal, show them to the next pantry, whatever resource that you're able to do, please do it. That's still, at the end of the day, that's someone's child. I don't care if the person is 60, 70, 80 years old. At the end of the day, that's still somebody's child. At the end of the day,
you can go God's child if you want to go that route.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that's what we are. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's just recognizing that within another human being, and not let it be not being diluted by race, class, sex, any of those things. Love in that way where it's just oh, I didn't do it because of pride. I did it because it's what was right.
I mean, we all have differences, but at the end of the day, we have so many similarities. And if we would just stop and look for them, we would be able to find them.
Yes, you have flesh, I have flesh.
Yes. You have feelings, I have feelings. You have hard days, I have hard days. You have good days and times of joy, and I do too.
And it's so contagious.
Yes.
Honestly, I'll be walking down the street and I'll see another person and they kind of just give that little half smile, and I'm just I'll end up smiling for a half a block, and I'm just the magic of the contagiousness of something as small as joy, or going outside and just being proud of where you live and just being oh, the flowers are nice, or the sky is actually clear right now, and just being in that state, not being so much in fear. The false illusions that appear real is one of those things where what's real is us. The reality that we make, that's what's real.
Love.
If you know what's in your heart, we are nothing but magnets. Like attracts like. And once again, just be that force of good. And I just want to emphasize that. Please be that good in the world that's telling you to be bad.
You can't choose how other people will choose to act, but you get to choose how you show up in the world.
Yes.
You get to choose whether you're a kind person or not. You get to choose whether you're showing respect and decency to your fellow humans.
It's up to yourself. Yeah. And it's your story. You have to understand that. So whether you are 15, 25, 35, 45, and you're looking back and you're in your 80s, if God bless you, make it. You know what I mean? You're able to look back at the decisions that you made, and you're I chose goodness and I chose kindness. And it's one of those things where that's your own personal glory. At the end of the day, the angels that were in heaven, they're just they clapped you on for it, because you could, how they always say, I could have chose violence today, but I didn't. You know what I mean?
You could have chose nastiness and cruelty,
especially if you feel like you were entitled to it. That's the thing. It's one of those things where it's just when you weren't petty, when you actually decided to be the person who didn't want to give up on the good. When you decided that for yourself, and how you can say, I was actually able to be that mercy, and I was actually able to be that grace. Because if I had terrible days when I was you, I may have treated anyone like you're treating somebody, but at the end of the day, I recognize myself within you. And I think us really realizing that God nature that's in us, and understanding that we all have that internal realness, that internal spark, it's how we are able to be the light on the top of the hill when we are surrounded by things that
very, very dark.
Yeah. And I think that's what's mostly important, because at the end of the day, just remember that the realness of God is good and he's good all the time. You will always be rewarded for that. Even if you don't get the instant gratification of the right now, that's a promise. The same way it was never promised to be easy and just worth it. All I want to say is I'm excited to hear your story. When you tell us, you know what, or tell anyone, or you tell your grandchildren, or you write it in your journal, I was able to overcome anger. I was able
that was hard, man. I had to do that recently.
Yeah.
Oh my. I was so close. I was I could just snap on you.
Yes. Or you overcome lust.
Yeah.
You overcome your jealousy.
Yeah.
When you're able to get over yourself.
Ego.
When you're able to get over yourself.
Ooh, ego.
I'm just saying, that's ooh. It's here's the thing. It's kind of easy to get past other people, but when you're dealing with yourself and there's no one else to blame, oh, that's chef's kiss right there. It's just oh, I got out of my own way of my own success. Ooh, that's ice cold, baby. That serves ice cold. Love it. So stay fierce. Have that fire under you of just, I am that one. I am that one. I was a chosen one out of the millions of eggs that my mom had, and out of the billions of sperm that my dad had. I was the one that was chosen. I'm here right now. This is how I'm choosing to use my God-given voice. I wasn't born a cat. I wasn't born a dog. I'm not woofing. I'm not meowing. I'm sitting here and using the spoken word. And as I know, the word creates the world. Never, never, ever, ever downplay yourself. Ever. Everything that I'm saying right now is reverberating through the entire universe, not even just on this earth plane, on the entire universe. That's power. And we all have it. Never forget that.
And you have the gift of time.
Yes. Yes.
Because
when God said, let's make them in our image, when you say I'm age, when God decided to become age, decide to decay, decide to not be this timeless, immortal, all supreme, decided to come down here, and the privilege of aging, especially in unfortunately a time where so many people that are our age, they're dropping dead. They're not waking up
like flies, and it's sad.
It is. It is. And it's one of those things where just being grateful just to be in the presence of someone, because even if you're just going to a Walmart, I know it gets kind of crowded. I know like you're like, other people, I'm just trying to get what I need done. I'm tired from my work day. Even if you never get to see that person again, just understand it was meant for you to meet into everyone that you've ever met, who you've ever spoken to, and just know it could possibly be a once in a lifetime meeting. That's a privilege.
And it could also have a profound impact on both of your lives that you may or may not ever realize right away.
It's profound that when I was in a crappy mood and the lady, she smiled at me, it was just a little, just friendly. I was smiling for half a block. That's so profound. It was something so small. And the way it affected me, even if it just dragged me out of my chosen mood to be grumpy, and that one little... that sweet little hey is just, oh my gosh, I'm alive. Like, why am I even tripping off of that? Like, I'm just tripping off the wrong things, being petty. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing worse than someone who's petty and stingy and freaking just like, no, don't be that way. Don't be petty. You choosing petty.
People choose petty.
They choosing stingy. You choosing it.
They choose
it. I'm so good. I'm good. Honey, no.
Yeah.
Like, no. Yeah. No. So I'm going to leave it at that. Do you want to leave any parting words? I'm going to say, don't be stingy with the love. Don't be petty.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy. Yeah. I should know. I should know. As I preach to you, I preach upon myself, and that's all I have to say. Like,
I mean, you did say any advice you gave, you were going to take for yourself. So.
That's a hard pill to swallow. I feel like I always give good advice, and I always tell people, hey, was this good advice? They always clarify me that it's good advice. I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. Like, not in a mean way. If I've ever asked you, was that good advice? Don't take this person if you're watching this video.
I am offended. I am offended. No, I'm not.
Good. But
well, you said if you're watching, it's like, I'm not watching. I'm a part of it. I'm offended.
Well, we're going back and watching this. I'm going to be my own view. I'm that person. All of that being said, don't be Andre. Don't be petty. Don't be stingy. Like, don't give over some of that good, sweet, tender love and care. You do that. You do that. Because what are you? You just a sweetness. You just a lovey. So it's one of those things I talk to the kids. Like, you just a lovey. You just a cutie. It's okay, sweetness. So, just kind of having that attitude when, going out into the world, it's just like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling freaking grateful. The Bible says over and over again, you can't worry and be grateful at the same time. It's literally physically impossible. So it's one of those things where it's just like, I think I'm going to have faith and hope. And I think I'm going to go on with that. It's the having faith in things that have been hoped for is one of those things where I think that I don't ever want us to lose hope. Yeah. I never want to lose that. And so leave off this video with hopeful insight, a hope for a beautiful future.
Know that we send you love.
Totally.
If no one else has told you, we love you. We send love to you.
Hardcore. Don't wait a minute. This is hardcore. Hardcore, yeah. So yeah, I think that's like the main thing I want to just like send off with that. Mm-hmm. Like, you are that. Yeah. Never forget that. You that one, boo boo. Mm-hmm. You that one. Next time.